Hey guys, Tony from Bikeberry here. You see this cruiser bike? Comes with these fenders, right? You know, bolted on the front, they're bolted on the back. The problem with putting an engine on this bike is these things become dangerous, right? Because they're wiggly, this is too wiggly, the bolts are hanging out on the inside. It's just not made for an engine. So our recommendation is take them off and get rid of them. But there's some of you that want to keep them. I'm going to show you how to reinforce them the right way. Let's go. Things just won't handle the power of your engine, okay? One, look at these bolts. So as you get up to speed, tire expansion happens. Your tire actually gets a little fuller, a little bigger, right? It warms up. It can grab these and rip the fender right off. Now, that bracket is the only thing holding it onto the fork at the top. That bracket is made out of the same thin material that the fender is made of. What happens is it ends up cracking and breaking either here, right, at that joint where that's bent, right there. Not good, not gonna hold up, okay? All right, moving around to this back side. As you can see, there's a big old slot there in this thin material. No washer behind that screw. Same for there, all right? We gotta beef that up. These screws here on these uprights that are way too thin to keep this thing from moving back and forth, they stick out pretty good on the inside, so your tire clearance is way too shallow, meaning your tire expands as you're riding. It's going to hit those, grab it, and pull that thing down and bust everything out. So for those of you that insist on keeping your fenders, let's beef them up. So let's walk through some of the fasteners that I got also, and some thread locker. I got the blue. You could use red if you want, but I like to be able to have the option to remove it. Angle brackets, 2 of those. And then I got all stainless steel fasteners, 832 by half, fender washers, 3/16 ID, 1 1/4 OD, then 832 nylon lock nuts, and then some flat washers. So for those of you that insist on keeping your fenders on your motorized bike, with my mechanical industrial background, I'm going to show you how to beef these up so they're a lot safer and you don't have those problems. And you'll know how to maintenance them too and do your checks and all of that stuff. So that way you'll be able to see any potential problems that come along. So we're going to go deep. All right, so the first thing we'll do is we'll take our fender washer and we'll draw lines right about there because we need to curve it a little bit to fit inside the fender the way we need it to. So something like that. All right, so we're going to take our curved washer and we're going to take our fastener for the bottom bracket, push that through there, and then we're going to take our thread locker, rub it all the way around, then put right in here. So you can see that you have a lot more surface area to hold that guy in there. Plus you got the thread locker to hold the screw in. Much better. And the same for this thread locker washer. Go right in here. So after I get those screwed in there, I like to go in there with a nut driver and give them a final snug a couple of turns. So next up is replacing these uprights. They're just too wimpy to be able to withstand the power that your engine will give the bike, okay? Plus the way that they're mounted, the screws are on the inside, they're just a regular nut. They just can fall out and cause you trouble when the tire expands and everything. It just grabs those and wrecks it. So we're gonna replace those next. You're gonna love this. So you can see I got some 1/8 inch by 3/4 inch flat stock steel. Okay, I'm gonna make this part out of that. So making this part out of a heavier gauge steel that isn't gonna wanna flex and spring back and forth will make it a lot safer because it won't be bouncing around like it is now, okay? Let me show you on my bike what I did, because I beefed mine up this way and I haven't had a problem, and I rode hundreds of miles. So as you can see on mine, I put that steel connected to the front fork to the back of the fender like that, and I added a lot of clearance in here. There's a full inch of clearance all the way around, okay? So I don't have any of the troubles because I put brackets on top and I put these heavy steel straps on here. This doesn't move at all. It's really rigid and solid, so I don't have any troubles. I've ridden it, you know, hundreds of miles at this point, and it's perfectly fine. So I'll show you how to do the same with your bike. So the first thing I do is I take the original one and I flatten it out to make a pattern, okay? So I use the vise a lot for this stuff because you can control your bends. So you're gonna flatten it out like that. Now it's pretty straight. So what we'll do is we'll flip that over so I have a clean side. Pull this to the end. And now we have a pattern for a new one. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark the slots where the holes are. So now I know where everything goes. And you can use bolt cutters to cut the material. Just like that. Then you can use the vise to start making your arched bend. Okay, curve it little by little. May have to open this up a bit. Do little by little, then you won't have weird kinks in it where it'll look bad and not fit the fender. All right, so you can see that we got it in a nice curved shape. It's pretty even. We just got to make it so it fits up inside there correctly, right? So you could take your hands, at least this is a start, kind of bend it. Kind of like the strong man doing the bending the bar thing, right? You can see we're getting even closer with it. So I like to kind of just take it with my hands, kind of bend it. You can kind of squeeze it and get it even more. So like this. See how it's getting tighter? Pretty much fits in there now, right? You can see it's kind of like a little off here. So you have to kind of make that as adjustments just by bending your hand. So that. You could also use crescent wrenches to assist in bending, okay? So I'm more rounded. Okay, so now we'll take it and test fit it up in there. And I can see that it really matches like that. See how it matches it? Really well. So we're going to spread it out and put it on the outside of here. Kind of position it. So it's kind of sprung in place, okay? It's all real rigid. So right now, even that doesn't really want to move. And I haven't even bolted it in yet. But this allows to even push this up a bit so that the tire has more clearance. We're where we want to be here. I'm gonna slide a little bit, it's too much. Right there. You can see I have the hole marked. So I'm gonna drill those first on both sides because I'm not sure if these are in the exact location of they were. We're really close, but the only way to know is just mark it right through here, drill our holes, and then mount it up. I'm gonna mark left and right. So I tend to start my first hole 3/16 drill bit. Then I enlarge the hole with a step bit. Other side. Step bit. All right, so now you can see why I wrote right and left on there, because I turned it all around, and so I want to make sure I get everything correct. Because I marked my holes so well, see how it lines up perfectly? Both sides. I'll show you. That's how you do it. Pretty cool, huh? So I'm going to use the new bolts that I got, because I got nylon lock nuts, I got washers, all the things. So I'm going to put washer on the bolt first, and I'm going to go up through this way. Okay, like that. I'm going to put a washer on top, and then the nut, just like that. So I'm more concerned about the inside being smooth than the outside. So that's why I put the screw head on the inside. And you always want minimum about 3 threads showing after your lock nut. Okay? Do the other side. Bolt, washer, put it in, washer, nut. All right, so you can see that we got 2 bolts on there, nuts on top, we got some threads sticking up so they're safe. You could go ahead and put blue Loctite on this if you want. And then next what I'm going to do is I'm going to get these fastened and in position, and then we'll see how rigid it is. Blue Loctite on these are also. There you go, a little Loctite on there. I like to kind of work it in the threads. Like that. All right, so by replacing this with a much heavier steel, it doesn't flex at all. Like I can't even push it over because it's more of an A-frame. That's a stiff A-frame. Now, if you want to take an extra step, you could do another one here, okay? You can add more in there, but I would trust this because it's not going anywhere and nothing's gonna fall out because everything's been Loctited and it's been nylon inserted lock nuts. So this is something that I would trust as long as the clearance is right, because everything's smooth now. They're all round-headed screws that are in there. Nothing to grab onto. So I think we're good. Now for the front. Okay, so we could make our own too, so you can do this, but I just got something that was readily available, is these angle brackets, okay? We're gonna use those to replace this bracket here, and then we'll also make another one of these out of the heavier material. So let's take this bad boy off of here. So the first thing we have to do is drill out these 2 rivets. Again, I like to use step bits. They just work great. So I made a mark right here because I'm going to do brackets on both sides. So I take a junk wood chisel. I pound a slot into the metal. Two slots. So we're going to push that one through there and that one through there. So we have double bracket and a lot of surface area that we're holding on to. So what we've done is we've added a lot of surface area to it, okay? Before it was just held in the middle. Now it's held on both sides, okay? So all we're gonna do is bolt this on here and get this made next. All right, so now that we've cut it down and everything, it looks good. We're gonna bolt it up. So as you can see, we add a lot more surface area. It's a lot more rigid. The only thing we need to do next is make a new upright here out of the heavier flat stock, and then it'll be stronger than it ever has been. So you got to kind of keep flexing it and looking at the fit to make sure it's even, okay? And just keep test fitting it in there. And you can see right there how it's fitting. So like this side's a little more curved out than this side. So that's where you gotta just use your hands or your vise if your hands, you know, aren't doing it for you. But a lot of times you can bend stuff kind of too far in a little bit and then pull it back out. Almost like a paper clip. See, it's fitting in there perfect now. Boom. So I'm going to go ahead and bolt this on to the ends of the forks here, and then put it up in there, mark it, drill those holes. Then one final thing that we'll do is we're going to kind of bow these out a little bit more once it's bolted in, okay? That'll give really nice wide clearance for the tire. All right, so we're going to bolt it onto the fender first. Then I'm going to take the edges here and kind of slightly bow them out and then bolt them onto here. Okay. So remember, bolts go out, right? We want to keep it smooth on the inside. I mean, to be honest, I even thought about putting this thing on the outside, kind of like how I did my black bike. All right, so you can see that these are kind of close together. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it up here. I'm going to pull it apart like that. Okay. Then I'm going to kind of arch it. See how I'm bending it kind of out. So it has this kind of out curve. then that will give me plenty of tire clearance, okay? So I'll do it for the other side. I'll bend it out and we'll kind of arch it. So they both have the same, you want them to have the same kind of taper, okay? See how they're a lot further apart? They're sticking way outside now. That's a good thing. So then I'll bolt them on here and we'll be good to go. All right, so at this point, you can see we have a nice curve on the new braces. This is a lot more stiff. It doesn't move anywhere. It doesn't really flex any like it did. See how I'm trying to turn it? It's not really flexing. It's smooth on the inside as far as all the screw heads and everything. We have a lot more surface area. So it's a lot more rigid, okay? So I would feel confident with this, no problem. When you put your tire on, you just want to make sure there's plenty of clearance for your tire. That's pretty much the last part. So, hey, I did want to show you one more thing. That has a rack, a rear rack. I got my bag on here, but you can see that there's more bracing. You got bracing here, you got bracing here, right? I attached into that. That made my fenders really solid also. So that's an option for you. So we at Bikeberry like to say safety trumps everything. So if you're not comfortable making this adjustments, you're not comfortable, you don't trust, you're not sure if you have the skill or capability, it's okay. Just get rid of them and be fender free. That's totally fine. But there's some people out there that are like, man, I just want to figure this out. So if you think of in industrial machinery, it's all about capturing surface area and then really toning down the vibrations or the ability of the vibrations to loosen anything up. Okay, so there's a few things factored in here. One, vibrations, right? And then your tires actually increase in volume a little bit as you ride, okay? And that ends up grabbing. So what happens is the mounting hardware isn't adequate enough, it comes loose, the tire's already inflated, it grabs a bolt, it pulls it off, and then you flip over the handlebars and it bends your rim in. I mean, that's what we've seen, right? That's been the experience. But on the other side of it is people who have done all of the things like I showed you and how to add rigidity to the entire system and how it works by thinking through everything that happens as you're riding and what that fender has to deal with, right? So that's what's really important here. So adding rigidity, adding plenty of surface area that it's mounted to. And then now I want to go through how I would check them, okay? And it's just like anything else. You're going to go in and you're going to, again, everything's Loctite. We have the blue stuff on there, on every bolt, everything, okay? That's really good. So before and after you ride, I would take your screwdriver and I would go over here, get it so you can see it, and go over here, and I would tighten those up. And what I tend to do for my bike, because I have them on the black bike, is I end up kind of smacking things and listen to it. Like there's no rattling or anything, okay? This doesn't move at all. There is no side-to-side movement, okay? I would go in and check all of those bolts, okay? Every single one. Yep, see how it's smooth on the inside? That's the surface area we're talking about, okay? So I check those. I do this every time I ride. And then on the back, same thing. I would go in. Now this one is a little different. You gotta smack it and listen if there's anything loose, because you can't get to the bolts in here, right? So you have to make sure they have plenty of thread locker on them and they're really tight. That's where a nut driver comes in, like that, okay? Make sure everything's tight before you put your wheel on, and then go in there and smack it as your test, and then tighten these on the regular. I want to thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope you learned a lot, especially on how to make your fenders that much more safe, you know, because if you don't feel confident in doing this and you still are unsure, ditch them. Throw those things away, be fender free, totally okay. But for those of you that, you know, gotta have them, then please follow this advice, and I think you'll have a much safer much safer ride every day. But please like, subscribe, comment below. A ton more things are in the works. I've got a whole months and months planned out that we're doing videos every week. If you need help with this, if you are one of these people that decide and you run into an issue, please join our Facebook page. That's what it's in there for. I'll put the link below and you'll be able to, go in there and get the help that you need. There's a ton of really smart people in there who are just love helping each other. So thank you. Be safe. Let's roll.